Hello everybody, here we are today talking about the Buffalo Sabres and their drought. So before we get into that, please make sure to subscribe if you're new to me or hockey, whatever the case may be. That being said, let's get on into it. So yesterday, Buffalo lost to the Dallas Stars 3-2, and a one-goal loss to Dallas isn't really a bad thing. A lot of people would probably be happy about keeping it close against this Stars side that has won 10 of their past 11 games and is competing for the President's Trophy. But I do think that the L last night was really rough for Buffalo Sabres fans as it officially eliminated them from playoff contention. This now means that their playoff drought is a teenager because they have not played postseason hockey since 2011. Back in that time, I was in 5th grade, 5 years away from having a driver's license. Fast forward to today, I'm 24, married, and wondering if this playoff drought is going to have a driver's license of its own. And it sounds kind of funny to talk about, but we are 3 seasons away from possibly seeing that be a reality. Not really something that you're really thrilled about if you are a Sabres fan, because last year, with it being a 91-point season, a lot of people were relatively optimistic, thinking, man, maybe we could break this drought and we could be at the very least a wild card team, but with some other teams in the Atlantic seemingly getting worse, maybe crack into the top 3. But unfortunately, life doesn't always work out the way you're hoping, as the Sabres 30 games into the year looked like they probably weren't going to be that team that the fans were hoping for. 27 points in 30 games played is not ideal if you're trying to make even the wild card, because that's just below 82 points. I can't think of a team that has made it without being in the low 90s in recent memory. The Sabres were just stuck in a situation with Tage Thompson, I believe, had an injury earlier in the year. He didn't hit 50 goals. I'm not saying this is all on him by any means, but with a young side like this, they kind of need somebody to have that big season to help them out. And he is still having a good year, but not that kind of year we've seen over the past 2 seasons. And it's not just all him. Looking at this side last year, they were third for goals in the league with 296 over an 82-game stretch. Right now, through 79 games, they have 234 goals, so they clearly are going to finish with a lower goal tally, and that's something that is unfortunate, because last year they were a team that struggled with some defensive numbers, but boy, could they score a lot of goals. They go from being that team where you're saying, oh my gosh, what could happen here, to just understanding that the struggles are partially attributed to this. Now, there's other things to look at here with this team. According to Buffalo News, they allowed the most goals in the first period with 93, but when I checked on Hockey Reference, they said 95, which doesn't really help Buffalo's case here. They weren't good in the first period in a lot of stretches, and when they went into the second period after trailing, they were 7-26-2. I can't tell you a single team that's going to be able to do well if you're down, especially multiple goals in the first period, and consistently come back and win. And when you're looking at a team in Buffalo that was the youngest team by average age entering the season, you can't expect young guys to go in there and have a bad first period and try to come out of that and get a bunch of wins. Just not something that is sustainable, even for some of the better teams in the league. And yeah, we could probably touch on a lot of other things, but I do kind of wonder, I guess, when this season is all done, whether or not Don Granato is going to be the head coach for the Sabres. He has had 3 full seasons now to try to get this team to where they're going. Not even saying that it's first season, especially their hopes were that big, and even last year I don't think that the hopes were that high. But with the hype that was built around this team going into the year, with some of these younger prospects that are exciting, with some of this young proven talent, Rasmus Dahlin, which we'll talk about here in a minute, having a year where he looks like he'll crack 60 points. Really just not sure if he's going to be the guy that they're going to throw out there with these younger players to try to develop them, but also get them to win. So I do wonder if he's going to be one of the many NHL coaches that have been fired this season. He did deal with his brother going through cancer treatment in December, so I don't know if Buffalo is going to try to be like, you had a lot on your plate this year, maybe we're going to try to give you another season. I don't really want to get into all that, but I do know that Don's time, if it goes poorly next season, is probably going to be really limited here, as Buffalo again has those expectations. But I feel just frustrated myself for the Sabres to not be in a spot where they can kind of hang around the wild card. Yes, they theoretically weren't eliminated till last night, but a lot of people, including a lot of people that do hockey videos, kind of just said on their videos recently, they're not there, and that's just where it is. And I'm looking at a guy like Rasmus Dahlin. He is going to be 24 in 2 days, and he has never played postseason hockey. He has played almost 450 games in the NHL, and he's got a teammate in Jeff Skinner that has played over 1,000 games in the league and never got to play in the playoffs. And I just don't want that for Dahlin. He's been able to be a really good player for them, been a really underrated guy. I think we all know that he's good, but he's playing on a Buffalo side that's never really competing for anything, and I don't want him to be the next Jeff Skinner. And I'm not even saying that for Jeff, because Jeff has been able to score a lot of goals in his career, but for a guy like Rasmus that just signed a long-term extension, with some of these other players getting out of Buffalo and seeing success, I don't want to see him being punished for being the hometown hero, if you will, in the situation, and sticking with it and sticking with the fans and just never being rewarded. So it does concern me, but again, you got to be kind of optimistic about with this team being so young. And that's why I feel like you can be relatively optimistic heading into next season too. They are hopefully going to be able to grow. And I think that this year kind of shows what Buffalo's fan base and organization is all about at the moment. Finishing with 80-something points isn't good enough for this team anymore. They have bigger aspirations. They want to be able to break through the ceiling that they've been stuck in under multiple GMs, under multiple players' tenures. They want to get back to being a playoff team. And even back when I was a kid, they had some really good playoff runs. The Sabres have not always been like this, and I think for younger fans, it's kind of weird to imagine the Sabres being good, but especially look at the run that they had with Hasek at points as well too. Buffalo has seen better hockey days, and now we're hoping that this is going to be something where you can turn the page and say next year is going to be different. But at this point, I got to be honest, I think we've all heard that so many times. We're wondering if the book is just closing, and there's no book because it feels like it's never ending. Maybe they're coming out with a new book where we get to read, but again, it's without playoff hockey. But anyway, what are your thoughts on the Buffalo Sabres heading into next season? Are they actually going to be able to crack into the playoffs? Is it going to be in the top 3 in their division? Is it going to be as a wildcard team? Are they going to continue to be kind of stuck where they're not bad enough to be towards the bottom of the division, but they're not good enough to climb into a playoff spot? I want to hear your thoughts on this down below. Tell me why you think Buffalo is bad this season, what changes should be made, what changes maybe shouldn't be made, all that stuff in the comments. Please make sure to like this video if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you're new. Everybody stay safe, have a great night. And Eagle of Hockey, alright. Goodbye, Brigadiers and Brigadettes. This is your captain signing off. Have a great night.